Hi, everybody. So today I'm only streaming on one channel, not both channels. By the way, happy Pride Month. I've been wanting to talk about more content related to the LGBT community. I just don't have enough time. I guess I'll try to do that today. Now, we keep talking about how Black Lives Matter. We protest. We talk about protecting Black men specifically. But even more specifically, we're talking about heterosexual Black men. And I did address this in my first book, which is Blaming on Dress, the performative, uh, the manufacturing of Black homophobia and performative masculinity. And I'm going to eventually get back to that. I'm going to read, I'm probably going to get to chapter 7, um, just in this context. So, okay, let me start out by talking about this Carmelo Anthony case, because I wasn't going to say anything about it because I just think it's a nothing burger. It's basically the same thing. I'm not even sure what the issue is. I'm not sure what the outrage is over that case. This was somebody who was in a tent. He was asked to leave repeatedly, and he just refused to leave. And I've experienced this. It's like I was on a train once, and I'm trying to get to the other side. So because there were no chairs, and I'm asking this guy to like, excuse me. I said it 3 times, and he just stood there looking at me, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, can you just move? But and then you just going about your business because you don't want to get in a fight. But it's just like, why are you in a why are you in the way? Why are you being an asshole? Like, and then when somebody says something, then you want to fight or you want to act like you're the victim. I don't get it. I mean, do you suffer from some type of mental health problem? So yes, he was asked to leave, and then he pulled out a knife, and he literally said, "Touch me and see what happens." It's almost as if they're looking for a fight. I don't know. We're supposed to get on Cole and we're supposed to defend them, but the reason why I'm not going to get on Cole is because it only works for straight Black men. It does not really apply to gay Black men. They always want to rally around them, even when they are committing crimes against their own community. And that's why I'm going to circle back and get to my book. And of course, there was this outpour of support for Carmelo Anthony. They raised all this money. They called him our son, and they blamed the jury. I want you to know that I had a nonprofit once upon a time where I was fighting the system. I was fighting against occupational licenses, or specifically law licenses, because they have a disparate impact on Black law graduates. This is the response that I got from the Black community. Get over it. Suck it up. Even from Black attorneys, they said, well, we got our license. What does this have to do with us? So I guess if I would have been a murderer, then maybe I would have got more support. But because I was just trying to practice law and actually help my community, I was not worthy of any support. I just don't get it. And I know the jury. I mean, there were some sketchy issues. Um, I don't know. I mean, but I'm not going to get to the mechanics of the legal system and how jury selection works. But at the end of the day, you do have Batson challenges and you do have peremptory challenges. Um, you can remove jurors for cause. But anyway, let me put this into perspective. Carmelo Anthony was charged with murder. The community donated, and there was $633,000 raised. Someone who was convicted of murder. This money went to his legal defense, but apparently some of this money actually went to the family because they were able to get a new home with this money. So the message is we will protect you. You deserve protection, and we're going to reward you for killing someone. Now, I'm going to get back to O'Shea. I mean, sorry, Carmelo Anthony, but I want to talk about O'Shea Sibley. O'Shea Sibley was a gay dancer who was killed. Did not harm anybody. He was voguing to Beyonce, and he got stabbed for it. His family only raised $50,000. Before I continue, let me just show y'all this clip because I want y'all to know what I'm talking about. This killing happened 2 years ago, but he was just sentenced, and it was reduced from murder to manslaughter. So let me just show y'all this clip.
The man who killed a beloved dancer and Philadelphia native in an alleged hate crime attack has been convicted of manslaughter in New York. Dmitry Popov, who was 17 at the time of the killing, testified at trial that he was just defending himself when he stabbed O'Shea Sibley in Brooklyn back in 2023. Now, Sibley and his friends were dancing and voguing to a Beyonce song outside of a gas station when a group of people started shouting racial which carried the potential of a life sentence. Popoff is scheduled to be sentenced on June 30th. The victim was a professional dancer from Philadelphia and got his start with the renowned Philadanko dance group.
All right. So, I mean, this is somebody, a gay black man who was killed in cold blood, and it was reduced down to manslaughter. And the black community only raised $50,000 to support his family. Yet the murderer gets $633,000. I just want y'all to let that sink in because they always talk about how we put our sexuality before our race, that we're not loyal to the community and blah blah blah. I want y'all to know that this is one way extraction. They want us to put their needs before our own, even when they're actively oppressing us. And the oppression doesn't start with adulthood, it starts at childhood. There was another case about this grown man who he deleted his child. I'm not even going to, because I don't have the clip, so I'm not even going to comment on that. But the bottom line is that we get abused all day, every day, and nobody says anything about it. Now, just to refresh everybody's memory, because this it did happen 2 years ago. They were at a gas station. They were voguing. Another group was making homophobic slurs. Get that gay shit out of here. And then this guy named Dmitry Popov stabbed him in the heart. I mean, the facts are almost identical to the Carmelo Anthony case, except that O'Shea did not provoke it. O'Shea did nothing wrong. All he was doing was voguing. O'Shea committed no crime. Completely innocent, minding his own business. He was out with his gay friends, and he gets stabbed. Where's the outrage from the black community? Is anybody even talking about this shit? Yes, there were vigils held, and most of those vigils were from members of the LGBT community. This is what I'm talking about. They act like we owe the black community everything, but our support is not even coming from the damn black community. We get more support from the LGBT community. Where's Al Sharpton? Where are these civil rights leaders? I mean, the silence is deafening. Now, similar to the Carmelo Anthony case, this the meat. Am I saying his name right? The murderer in the O'Shea case claims that he was in fear. He's claiming that he was being harassed by the gay guys. The gay guys were not even talking to him. They were over filling their car up with gas. They are the ones who provoked it. They are the ones who were the aggressors. They were antagonizing the gay guys. And so because he felt quote unquote fear, it was reduced down to manslaughter. And I want y'all to know that they say that we're so weak, we're just a bunch of pansies, we're not a threat. If we're not a threat, why is this man afraid of a bunch of gay guys? I thought we were not a threat to anybody. I thought we were so weak that nobody takes us seriously. Now, I'm going to tell you why they don't support us. It's because of this performative masculinity bullshit. They believe that somehow by being gay, by being your authentic self, somehow you have betrayed the community. There's a hierarchy. Within a patriarchy, there is an actual hierarchy. That you can literally do anything, even commit murder. You can harm little girls. You can abuse women. You can do anything. The one thing that is unforgivable is it's not even necessarily being gay. It's really displaying femininity. Because if you are gay, you can get away with it so long as you're not feminine. Now, let me play this clip by Funky Dineva. Do I have it? I do. I do. I wanted to cover this when it was like more recent. He made this video about about a month ago. I just didn't get around to covering it because I didn't think I had enough content to do a whole live stream about it. But I'm going to cover it now. Better late than never. Okay. Wait. I'm not showing. Okay, I'm on the wrong screen. I'm going to rewind it back because I was not on the right screen. I'm gonna make sure y'all can see it. Okay, here we go.
This is not something that Black women can help us with. This conversation does not include Black women. Black women, stand down and stand to the side. Black men need to have a kumbaya amongst themselves, and I'm gonna niche this out a little more. And it's heterosexual Black men. I'm gonna catch a lot of flack for this, but I'm gonna say it out loud with my whole chest. Straight Black men are the cancer of the Black community. That's where it starts and that's where it stops. Ladies, I'm here to tell y'all something. All this shit that y'all got going on, some of y'all, not all of y'all, with the gays and with the trans, let it go. Your issue is not a trans woman. Your issue is not a punk or not a sissy. Your issue is all of our issue. Straight Black men. Straight Black men are the enemy to the gays. Straight Black men are the enemy to the trans. Straight Black men are who are causing harm to the girls and the women. That's where it's at. Now, y'all can shoot the messenger. Y'all can call me all type of faggots on the Shade Room and all the other blog sites that's going to pick this up, and I'll eat it. But you'll never see a situation where girls and women walking around saying they scared of the gay boys. They scared of their life for the gay boys. They don't want to be around the gay boys. It ain't us going around with these fragile ass egos, can't take rejection because a girl said, back in my day when boys went to the flea market and we was out to the games and somebody hollered at a girl and she was like, she didn't want to holler. It was just what it was. Now, you had a few outliers that would get crazy, and I remember a lot of my friend girls' moms having to arm them by saying, if a man approach you, just turn him down gently, don't embarrass.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Basically, the gist of this whole video is that Funky Dineva was making a response video to a Black girl who was attacked by a Black boy who refused to give him her number. So he was literally defending a Black girl who was attacked by a Black boy. I'm not sure why you're not allowed to defend Black girls or Black women. It's almost as if you're selling out to call a spade a spade. And yes, it's not the gay boys who are attacking Black girls and Black women. We don't do that shit. Yes, we may throw shade, we may argue with you, whatever. Funky Dineva certainly has had his issues with Tasha K and other Black women. I'm not even going to say he hasn't, but has he physically put his hands on anybody? No, we don't do that shit. You're not going to see gay boys going around attacking Black girls and Black women. Now, let me as a juxtaposition, let me play the Crimson Cures video. I'm not going to play the entire thing, but wait a minute. Gosh, just okay. I need to. Here we go. Because again, the context was a straight teenager attacked a Black girl, and Funky Dineva was defending the Black girl. But listen to Crimson Cure.
Claims straight men need to have. Before we go into that, what he may or may not understand, or I would say he doesn't want to accept, is that as a homosexual Black man, he is not equipped in the eyes of straight Black men to call them to the carpet about nothing.
Why not? Why can't we call them to the carpet? We live in their communities. We were raised by us. By the way, they created us. We are products of them. We had straight Black fathers, so we are products of their dysfunction. We were raised in broken homes, raised by single women because of the absentee fathers. yet we don't have a stake in this. So basically, we're not black anymore. We're not a part of the black community. I guess we're white by we're de facto white people. We don't have a stake in this at all. I'm going to call bullshit. I'm going to call bullshit on it. Let me continue.
In the eyes of straight black men collectively, gay men, and we just gonna keep it black since we talking about black, gay black men are half a notch above women, maybe.
Y'all see this shit? Y'all see her mewling for the patriarchy? What the fuck does that mean? That we're just a notch above women. So basically, you are putting women beneath men. We wouldn't even have this problem if, well, as I stated in my book, my first book, there is a deep connection between misogyny and homophobia. Okay, let me continue because I'm going to get back to my book.
Maybe. In terms of just like straight black men don't feel like women can call them out on manhood and things that concern men, pretty much they feel the same way about gay men. You have compromised your masculinity. You may be biologically a man, we can see that, but you operate in many cases like a female.
No. You think that these people are masculine just because they have deep voices, because they watch football, because they drink beer? That's not masculine. That's toxic femininity. They're not in control of their emotions. They're emotionally unhinged. Those are feminine traits. They don't have discipline. They don't protect and provide. And I know I've made this point before, but I know I haven't been talking about gay issues as of late. But what you see outwardly being displayed by gay black men, it looks like it's feminine. It presents as femininity, but it's actually masculinity. When they're outside voguing, doing that shit and putting it in your face, that is masculinity. They're putting it out there that they're basically dominating you and basically saying, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to live my truth. Meanwhile, we have all of these repressed, ostensibly straight guys, and they're not really straight. They are afraid to be their true selves, not only just to explore sexually, because that's not even what it's about, but they don't have a connection to their feminine side. These are not complete human beings. They're broken. They have a split anima that they act as if their feminine side does not exist. And that's why they can't respect women, because they think that women have an ability that is foreign to them. They can't relate to women. They don't have any empathy for women because they don't have a connection to their feminine side.
You have a sexual attraction to other men.
And I address this in my book. They not only do they disrespect women who find them sexually desirable, meanwhile, they're walking around half naked and you're not supposed to look at them. But they also don't respect men for finding them desirable. Women are supposed to be the objects of desire. Men are not supposed to be objectified in this way. You're not supposed to find men sexually desirable. Any woman who finds men attractive, any woman who wants to have sex with men because it's for her own pleasure, or maybe she's actually getting something out of it, oh, she's a slut. That's something to be shameful for. Why? Because men are not supposed to be desirable. You're only supposed to be having sex because you got tricked into it, because somebody manipulated you, because you got paid, because you got married and you're just performing your wifely duties, but you're not actually supposed to find men desirable. That's because they have low self-esteem. They don't find themselves desirable. And the fact that you find them desirable means there's something wrong with you. How dare you find me desirable? I'm disgusting. I'm not attractive. The fact that you find me attractive or desirable means there must be something wrong with you. I mean, they'll tell you that. That's why they're so repulsed with homosexuality, because they see themselves as being repulsive. And so all that shit that they project onto us is all about their low self-esteem. It has nothing to do with us.
You behave in more of a feminine way than you do a masculine way. So therefore, you have compromised your masculinity. And
no, they compromised their masculinity because we're the products of them. They created us. They are the ones who abandoned their women, created broken homes. They don't protect the community, and we are a product of their dysfunction. It's just so funny how the creator never takes responsibility for their creations. If they were so masculine and they were such effective fathers, then they would not be producing all of these quote unquote effeminate gay black sons. It's almost as if they have this revisionist history as if we created them instead of them creating us. No, you motherfuckers created us. We are a product of your dysfunction, of your neglect. Well, it's not purely their fault, because I do also address in my book that black boys are emasculated by their own mothers. So at the end of the day, the community has failed us entirely, and we don't have anybody to turn to except ourselves. They don't give a fuck about us. They don't. They just want to project. Again, this was about Funky Dineva defending a black girl who was attacked by a black boy. And there is no context to this, because clearly Crimson Cure is not going to say anything to defend a black girl. She's not going to hold black men accountable at all. She's just going to scapegoat gay black men as if we're the problem. No, we're not the ones who are attacking black girls and black boys. I mean, black girls and black women. We're not the ones doing that. We're not the ones committing a crime, terrorizing the community, shooting people up, stabbing people. No accountability whatsoever. And Funky Dineva specifically said, this is a conversation that men need to have among ourselves. This has nothing to do with women. I'm not sure why she had to interject and put her 2 cents on it.
And because that has happened, you no longer hold the ability nor the respect that a straight black man would give another straight black man for holding him accountable.
Respect. Why should I don't understand why we should respect them when they're committing all the crime, when they're terrorizing the community. They're acting as if we're the ones who are unworthy of respect. We're not the ones who are causing the crime in the community. We're not the ones who are tearing the community down. So just because they're quote unquote masculine, because they present as masculine, even though they're not really masculine, they are automatically entitled to respect. Y'all really have to go back and read my book. Blame It on the Dress, the Manufacturing of Black Homophobia and Performative Masculinity, because I break all this shit down. And I am going to read part of it, but I mean, obviously I'm not going to be able to get through all of it in this one live stream. But this is a whole okie doke that they're running on us, that we're supposed to be ashamed when we have not done anything wrong.
To manhood and masculinity, because you've compromised it. So in a straight black man's mind, you can't tell him nothing about what a man ought to do, because in his mind, the first thing he gonna think, well, we shouldn't be sucking D either. But
who says we shouldn't be sucking dick? They were doing that on the continent, on the diaspora. Before colonization, homophobia existed all throughout Africa. And they want to act like being homophobic is pro-black. And no, it's not. You have a colonized mind and you're operating from a position of being conquered. You don't even know your damn history. Homophobia did not exist in Africa prior to colonization. Once these Christian missionaries went throughout Africa spreading their degenerate Christian culture, then all of a sudden now they all want to be homophobic. This is also addressed in my book.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you suck D, dude. That's the first thing. And you,
By the way, and I'm sure she doesn't know this or she doesn't want to acknowledge it, these so-called straight guys come to us for that shit. And these women don't even know about it. They want to act oblivious to it. We're getting the same black man that you're getting. Literally the same black man. So how are you shaming us when the same men that you're sleeping with are sleeping with us? Are you out your mind?
you can like it, not like it. You can feel like that's immature. You can feel like that's too surface. You can feel like that's not viable. You can feel however you want to feel about that. But the bottom line is that the gay community, the rainbow community of men, are not equipped in the eyesight of the straight community of men to hold them accountable to the standards of manhood, because you have forfeited it.
No, they forfeited it because we are the products of them. We were raised in their broken homes. We are products of their dysfunction. They forfeited. They're not masculine. They don't protect their women and they don't protect their children.
Forfeited it by being rainbow. Because you're rainbow, you kind of forfeited that. So the first
No. Being androgynous or being gay, that's not a subtraction. That's actually an addition. They are the ones who are broken. They are the ones who have a split anima. So we have masculinity and femininity. We're more balanced. They're operating from a position of toxic femininity. They think that they're masculine. Even if we were to grant them that they're being masculine, they're still not complete human beings. If you're only masculine and you don't have a connection to your feminine side, then you are a broken human being. You are the one who are incomplete, not us. And you need a woman to complete you. You need a woman to give you, to bring femininity into your life, because you're not a complete human being.
First thing that men gonna look at you is, dude, you gay. What? They not listening after that.
This is so stupid. You get judged even if you're not actually gay, even if you're not sexually active, just by the tone of your voice. This is the shit that I went through as a fucking 8-year-old child. The guy at the barbershop who told me that it wasn't even my voice. He literally told me that I look like a bitch. Something that I couldn't even control. I was dressed like a little boy. I just happened to look feminine. It wasn't my fault. Again, they fucking created us. So if my genes were defective to the extent that I looked feminine, who fucking created me? If I sound feminine because of the tone of my voice, I am the product of a straight black man. You fucking created me. I did not create you. It is your fucking fault. You can't project that onto me.
They not listening after that. And you may or may not have a point.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna go to my book now. There's no comments. Okay. Well, let me see. Oh, there are comments. Let me scroll back up. Because I'm about to get into my book. Yes, the classic having a deep voice, watching sports, bragging about getting laid. This is so masculine. And if you do not do these things, then you are less than. So typically, exactly. Let us even argue that, radically speaking, from a biased view, being gay is the most masculine thing you could ever do, let alone highly embracing and relishing that. Yes, yes, it is masculine. Well, it's more masculine to get a man than it is to get a woman. It absolutely is. Anybody can get a woman. In fact, the Roman soldiers, they were all bisexual. They had their gay soldiers carrying their equipment, their male concubines. And actually, you had a higher status as an emperor or as a wealthy person if you could afford a male concubine. They respected you more if you could actually get men than if you could get women. These people are so fucking ignorant about history while running away from what you be or even shame others for being into what they be into is the least manly shit ever. And in fact, the biggest bitch made cowardly fragile ass shit ever. Yes, facts. And again, we need to learn one to be with both the animus and the animus and stop trying to be extremely rigid with one or the other, masculinity only or feminine only. The fact that we failed to do so is a disgraceful failure, a grand testament to the abomin- abominable repulsiveness of the patheticness of the masculine performativeness. And then we continue to bitch and moan about why there is a loneliness epidemic, a male loneliness epidemic in particular. Why? Because, bitch, this is why. Wait a minute. Okay, I don't know. I can't even see that. Yes. Hitting back to the other previous statement, I would even argue that being homosexual is the only masculine thing you could ever do, and speaking in a biased way. Well, I would say that most human beings would naturally be bisexual. And the only reason I would say that is probably the default to be attracted to both men and women. I would say the reason that I'm not attracted to women stems from the fact that I was abused from my mother. I'm not saying that it made me gay, but it made me not attracted to women. Anyway, here's the book. Here's the book. This is the first one that I released. Blame it on the draft, the manufacturing of black homophobia and performative masculinity. I'm going to get to chapter 7. Why straight black men get a free pass. In the black community, masculinity is more than an identity. It is an image that must be fiercely protected even at the expense of truth, accountability, and collective progress. Straight black men, as the embodiment of this image, are shielded from accountability in ways that defy both logic and morality. This protective shield extends far beyond familiar forgiveness or community solidarity. It is an unspoken rule that masculinity itself is sacrosanct, and any challenge to it is treated as an existential threat. The roots of this phenomenon lie not merely in personal biases, but in a complex tapestry of historical oppression, patriarchal conditioning, and internalized racism. The community, having long endured the emasculation of black men during slavery and Jim Crow, adopted a performative masculinity as a means of survival. Unfortunately, instead of fostering resilience and unity, this constructed version of manhood became a weapon wielded not only against external oppression, but also against those within the community who did not conform to its narrow definitions, especially gay black men. The thesis of this chapter is clear. The black community's prioritization of performative masculinity, rooted in patriarchal and racial trauma, creates an environment where straight black men receive endless grace while marginalized groups, particularly black gay men, face exclusion, exploitation, and vilification. This unwavering loyalty to the image of masculinity comes with profound costs, costs that undermine the very liberation the community claims to pursue. To challenge the system, we must first understand its origins, its manifestations, and its consequences. I'll skip this. To understand why straight black men receive a free pass while gay black men are ostracized, we must first examine the twin forces of homophobia and misogyny. Both are tools of patriarchy designed to uphold rigid gender roles and ensure that power remains concentrated in the hands of men who perform masculinity in socially sanctioned ways. Homophobia in the black community is often framed as a moral or religious issue, but this is a convenient smokescreen. At its core, homophobia is about gender policing. It's less about who a man loves and more about how that love challenges the dominant narrative of black masculinity. A black man who loves another man exposes the fragility of masculinity built on dominance, heterosexual conquest, and emotional repression. He becomes a threat not because his sexuality, but because his existence defies the script that patriarchy demands black men follow. Misogyny operates in tandem with homophobia, reinforcing the idea that masculinity is defined in opposition to femininity. Women, like gay black men, are viewed as subordinate. Y'all, she literally said that. She literally said that black men don't respect gay men because they're basically in the same category as women. So because you don't respect women, then you're not going to respect a man who puts himself in a position of a woman. Women, like gay men, are viewed as subordinate, and any man who exhibits traits associated with femininity, empathy, vulnerability, gentleness is seen as less than a real man. This explains why black men who display traditionally feminine traits often face ridicule, though they are still afforded more grace than openly gay men. The historical roots of this dynamic trace back to slavery, when black men were systematically emasculated as a means of social control. Enslaved men were stripped of their ability to protect and provide for their families, the very roles that defined masculinity under Western patriarchal standards. In response, post-emancipation, black communities sought to reclaim masculinity as a form of resistance. Unfortunately, instead of rejecting the white patriarchal standards that had been used to oppress them, many black men sought to embody those same standards, creating a rigid, unforgiving model of masculinity that left little room for deviation. During the Great Migration of the Civil Rights Movement, the image of the strong, stoic black man became central to the fight for racial equality. Leaders like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. embodied this ideal, though their approaches to masculinity were more complex and compassionate than a simplistic strong black man trope that later emerged. The emphasis on respectability politics further cemented the idea that black men had to present themselves as hyper masculine, morally upright, and unquestionably heterosexual to gain white acceptance and community respect. This historical context helps explain why, even today, the black community remains deeply invested in protecting the image of straight black men. It is not merely about personal prejudice, but about defending a symbol that has come to represent black resilience and truth. Unfortunately, this defense often comes at the expense of those who challenge the myth, especially black gay men who are seen as portraying the race by rejecting the performance of heteronormative masculinity. In the black community, the phrase keeping it real is often wielded as both a badge of honor and a weapon of shame. It suggests authenticity, resilience, and an unapologetic embrace of one's identity. Yet, when it comes to black masculinity, keep it real is more about keeping it fake. The expectations placed on black men to project strength, dominance, and stoicism create a paradox. The more one conforms to the hyper masculine ideal, the less authentic they become. This contradiction is evident in how emotional repression, aggression, and sexual conquest are elevated as markers of real masculinity, while vulnerability, compassion, and introspection are dismissed as feminine and by extension weak. Straight black men are expected to perform a version of masculinity that leaves little room for individuality or emotional complexity. It is a script written by patriarchy and upheld by the community, often to its own detriment. The policing of masculinity within the black community is often both internal and external. Straight black men, in particular, enforce gender norms among themselves, using ridicule and exclusion to keep each other in line. A man who chooses to express his emotions openly, prioritize his mental health, or engage in activities deemed unmanly risks being labeled as soft, suspect, or even gay. This policing extends to how straight black men interact with gay black men. The mere existence of an openly gay man challenges the fragile foundation of performative masculinity. Rather than confronting the insecurity that fuels their discomfort, many straight men respond with hostility, distancing themselves from anything that might taint their image. It is not uncommon to hear straight black men say, I don't have a problem with gay people as long as they don't act gay around me. This caveat reveals the true concern, not sexuality itself, but the perceived threat it poses to the image of masculinity. The greatest irony is that while the community condemns fake behavior, performative masculinity itself is a facade. The emphasis on outward displays of toughness, heterosexual prowess, and material success often masks deep seated insecurities and unresolved trauma. Many straight men adopt hyper masculine personas not because they are inherently dominant or aggressive, but because they have been taught that survival depends on projecting strength at all costs. Meanwhile, those who reject the performance, gay, black men, sensitive straight men, and gender nonconforming individuals, are dismissed as not real men. Yet, in living authentically, they embody the very authenticity that performative masculinity claims to value. It is not the hyper masculine man, but the man who embraces his full humanity, flaws, vulnerabilities, and all, who is truly keeping it real. Homophobia within the black community is less about sexuality and more about safeguarding the image of black male masculinity. Straight black men are not merely rejecting gayness, they are defending a fragile identity constructed in opposition to it. The fear is not just that a man might be gay, but that his existence might challenge the entire framework of black masculinity. This defensive posture is rooted in the belief that masculinity must be rigid and unyielding to survive. A man who embraces vulnerability or defies traditional gender norms threatens the collective facade of strength that many believe protects the community from external oppression. In this sense, homophobia functions as a form of gatekeeping, ensuring that masculinity remains defined by dominance, control, and heterosexuality. To protect the image of straight black masculinity, many men who engage in same sex relations do so in secrecy. The down low phenomenon is often framed as deceitful, but it is more accurately understood as a survival strategy within a community that equates homosexuality with emasculation. These men are not hiding from their truth, they're hiding from the consequences of exposing the truth in a space that prioritizes image over authenticity. However, it is important to clarify who is engaging in this behavior. It is predominantly bisexual men, not gay men, who navigate these secretive spaces. Bisexual men attracted to both men and women often choose to publicly align with heterosexuality to avoid the stigma associated with queerness. They maintain relationships with women while secretly engaging with men as a way to protect their social standing in a community that still views same sex attraction as a threat to masculinity. This secrecy extends beyond individual relationships to community dynamics. Families and social circles often turn a blind eye to behaviors that contradict the hyper masculine ideal, as long as the facade remains intact. A man can engage in same sex encounters, neglect his responsibilities, or even perpetuate harm, and the community will excuse it as long as he publicly maintains the image of a straight masculine man. Further complicating the issue is the way the black community, particularly black women, often conflate bisexual men with gay men, unfairly blaming the latter for the actions of the former. When a bisexual man engages in secretive relationship with both men and women, the blame frequently falls not on him, but on gay men as a collective, as though homosexuality itself is a contagion. This scapegoating not only reinforces stigma, but also prevents honest conversations about sexuality, consent, and accountability. Ultimately, secrecy serves to protect not just individuals, but the entire social struggle the entire social structure built around performative masculinity. It allows the community to uphold the illusion of heterosexual dominance while ignoring the complexities of human desire. Until the black community confronts its discomfort with sexual fluidity and challenges the narrow definitions of manhood, the cycle of shame, blame, and silence will continue, harming everyone involved. Ultimately, homophobia serves as a tool of control, not just over gay men, but over all black men. It reinforces the idea that masculinity must be performed within narrow boundaries and that any deviation is punishable by exclusion, ridicule, or violence. This control extends to the economic and social exploitation of gay men, who are often expected to provide emotional, financial, and even sexual support to straight men while being denied full acceptance within the community. Within the black community, gay black men often find themselves reduced to utility, expected to fulfill the emotional, financial, and even sexual needs of ostensible straight black men while remaining on the margins of acceptance. This dynamic is not incidental. It is direct it is the direct result of a system that prioritizes the image of straight masculinity over the humanity of those who exist outside its boundaries. The euphemistic question, "Are you generous?" has become shorthand for transactional relationships, particularly on gay dating platforms where straight men often lurk to exploit gay men. It is rarely about genuine connection. Instead, it signals an expectation. Will you give me money? Will you buy me some weed? Will you pay my cell phone bill? These men, unwillingly or unable to seek support within heterosexual spaces for fear of damaging their masculine image, turn to gay men under the pretense of exploration, companionship, or casual encounters. Once their needs are met, whether financial, emotional, or even sexual, they disappear, leaving nothing in return. What makes this exploitation even far more insidious is how often gay men willingly fall for it, driven by a deep longing for the attention from masculine, straight presenting men. In a community where masculinity is treated as gold, being desired by someone who embodies that ideal feels like validation. For many gay black men, the chance to be seen and wanted by a man who represents everything society taught them to idolize is worth almost any cost. And so they give money, time, emotional support, hoping that generosity will translate into affection, loyalty, and even love. It rarely does. In many ways, gay black men have become the new Big Shirley, a term popularized to describe the archetype of the overlooked yet dependable black woman. Big Shirley is the woman men call when they need a place to stay, a meal, money, or a sympathetic ear. Yet she rarely receives the love, respect, or commitment she deserves. Like Big Shirley, gay black men are expected to show up, provide, and protect without ever being prioritized in return. These men are broke and desperate, yet they still act like they are the ones in control. Even while begging for money, they still disrespect black gay men and call gays their bitches. Straight black men conditioned by patriarchy and homophobia often cling to the belief that masculinity is defined by dominance and control. Relying on a gay man for survival contradicts this image, leading to resentment and further marginalization. This exploitative dynamic reinforces the very prize mentality that drives so much dysfunction within the community. Straight men, unwilling or unable to address their own emotional and financial needs, outsource them to the very people they are conditioned to devalue. Until the community challenges the double standard and redefines masculinity to embrace vulnerability and mutual support, gay black men will continue to be treated as disposable resources rather than whole, deserving individuals. Let me see if I want to keep going. Yeah, I think I'm going to skip that part. This book is available on Amazon, y'all. So if y'all want to read this entire thing, you absolutely can. Um, let me just get to this part. The black community's unwavering reverence for masculinity creates a cycle of forgiveness that shields straight black men from accountability, no matter how egregious their behavior. Masculinity itself becomes a form of redemption. As long as a man presents as tough, heterosexual, and emotionally detached, his transgressions are swept under the rug. This grace is not extended to gay black men, whose very existence is framed as a challenge to the community's ideals. Straight black men can engage in abusive relationships, abandon their children, and or participate in criminal activities without facing the same communal backlash reserved for those who deviate from heteronormative masculinity. The image of the strong black man, stoic, dominant, and heterosexual, acts as a sword and a shield. It does not matter how much harm he causes, as long as he maintains the facade of masculinity, forgiveness is guaranteed. In stark contrast, gay black men face exclusion, condemnation, regardless of their achievements or contributions to the community. A gay man can be educated, financially stable, and actively involved in uplifting his community, yet he will still be viewed as less than his straight counterparts. The mere fact of his sexuality overrides any other measure of success or character. This double standard reinforces the idea that worthiness in the black community is tied not to integrity, responsibility, or contribution, but to conformity with patriarchal gender norms. Straight black men are granted endless chances, while gay black men are forced to prove their worth time and again, often to no avail. The selective nature of accountability within the black community is most evident in the way certain crimes and transgressions are treated. A straight black man who engages in violence, exploits women, or neglects his family can often find forgiveness and be embraced by the community if he continues to project a hyper masculine image. His ability to maintain his outward persona, regardless of his behavior, allows him to navigate his shortcomings without facing the full consequences of his actions. The community, in this case, chooses to prioritize his masculinity over the harm he may cause, treating his flaws as secondary to his role in uplifting an ideal of black masculinity. In stark contrast, a gay black man, no matter how upstanding, responsible, or community oriented, remains an outsider. His worth is not measured by his actions or his contributions, but solely by his identity, which is seen as a deviation from the accepted norms of masculinity. This creates a double standard that punishes authenticity and forces many gay black men to constantly fight for validation, while straight black men are often excused for far more harmful behaviors. This selective accountability extends beyond individual behavior and deeply impacts community leadership and activism. Straight black men who claim to fight for racial justice are rarely challenged on their misogyny, homophobia, or their failure to embrace inclusive intersectional activism. Their contributions to the fight against racial oppression are often seen as sufficient to excuse any personal failings, even when their actions directly harm marginalized groups within the Black community, particularly Black women and queer people. In contrast, queer voices advocating for broader intersectional justice are sidelined or dismissed altogether, often labeled as divisive or secondary to the main cause of racial equality. This creates an environment where the pursuit of justice is narrow and exclusionary, reinforcing the idea that certain struggles, such as those for gender equality, LGBT plus rights, and broader social equity are less important than a fight for racial oppression. The lack of accountability for these straight Black men who perpetuate harmful behaviors results in a community that is not truly united, but divided by its selective tolerance and inability to fully embrace and uplift all its members. Ultimately, the community's investment in protecting the image of straight Black masculinity comes at a steep price. The insistence on upholding this ideal not only marginalizes gay Black men, but also perpetuates cycles of harm that impact the community as a whole. By placing image and reputation above accountability, the community avoids addressing the very real issues that affect its members, issues that are often masked by the facade of traditional masculinity, domestic violence, absentee fatherhood, and neglect of community well being are frequently excused or overlooked under the misguided belief that he's still a man, as if being a man, regardless of his actions, is above reproach. I just want to comment on that because I actually have an uncle who is a pastor of a church. And when I was a teenager, I had a friend. Well, she was a friend of the family, and she was even younger than me. I would say she was probably maybe 13 or so, maybe 14. I don't know. And my uncle was basically trying to get with her. And the excuse that the family made was, yeah, he's a pastor, but he still is a man. So they will give straight Black men all kinds of passes, all kinds of grace, no matter how deplorable their actions are. You can't hold them accountable. If you say anything about a straight Black man, you're basically a sellout. You're supposed to get on code. You're supposed to turn a blind eye, but they can make all these critiques about gay Black men. Because a lot of people see this on the outside and it's just like, why does the Black community keep protecting criminals? Why do they keep protecting Black men? It's not all Black men. We don't get that protection. They don't protect us. We're left to fend for ourselves. We don't have anybody but ourselves. So all this muling and obfuscation that you get for straight Black men, it does not apply to us. We don't reap any of the benefits. We get thrown under the bus time and time again. We get scapegoated, blamed for every damn problem in the community, even though we didn't create any of it. We don't even, I mean, I guess some of y'all procreate, but at the end of the day, they created us. Most of us don't procreate. And they see that as a problem too. We're the problem because we don't create the dysfunctional households that they create. We're supposed to replicate their dysfunction. They have all the solutions to everything, yet the results show everything. If their approach was effective, then we would not have so many problems in the community. If the solution was just to be straight masculine and have a bunch of Black babies, then we would not be facing economic disenfranchisement, political disenfranchisement, crime in our own communities. There is a part that I wanted to read specifically. Oh, this is what, okay, here it is. Here it is. The elevation of masculinity over morality creates a culture where accountability is secondary to image preservation. Straight black men could perpetuate harm, abusing partners, neglecting children, or engaging in criminal behavior without facing meaningful consequences from the community. These men still have no problem getting women and finding support from the community. If these men were to become the victim of police violence, the community would risk their lives defending them. The community's willingness to overlook these transgressions speak to a moral bankruptcy that prioritizes appearance over ethics, often reinforcing dangerous myths that protect perpetrators rather than victims. The failure of accountability is particularly evident in the ways young black girls who experience sexual abuse are treated. Instead of being protected and supported, many are met with suspicion, blame, or outright disbelief. When an underage girl comes forward with accusations of assault, the first question is, what was she doing? Rather than, why did this man harm her? The accountability is shifted onto the child. While the adult man is excused, his actions rationalized as a mistake or even dismissed as the girl's fault. Too often, black girls are told they are too fast, a phrase that places the burden of sexualization on them rather than on the adults who prey on their vulnerability. A 14-year-old girl who is manipulated by an older man is accused of acting grown as if she has the power and maturity to consent to such a relationship. A 12-year-old who is assaulted is questioned on why she was wearing or on what she was wearing or why she was acting too grown, rather than being treated as the victim of a crime. This harmful narrative absolves men of responsibility and forces young girls to carry shame that does not belong to them. Consider how many in black families, when a young girl reveals that a family friend, stepfather, or even an uncle has been inappropriate or abusive, she is told to stay silent to keep the family together. Rather than removing the abuser from the home, the girl is often the one who is punished, sent to live with another relative, labeled as trouble, or simply ignored. She is warned not to ruin a black man's life, with her accusations reinforcing the idea that a man's reputation matters more than a girl's safety. In some cases, mothers or grandmothers will defend the abuser, claiming, he didn't mean it like that, or you must have misunderstood, leaving a girl completely unprotected and isolated. And yet, many black women know exactly what is going on. They don't want to talk about it, but their actions reveal the truth. They refuse to leave underage girls in the house with their men. I know this because my mom remarried, and I have a niece. Um, when my niece goes to Philly, my mom does not leave her in the house with the husband. Anytime she leaves the house, she has to take her with her. Why? Because she knows her husband. Her husband, I don't know if I should be telling family business. Let's just say he has come on to everybody. My cousins, my mom's best friend. He has been caught. He has been caught many times out in public with other women. Yet he gets a free pass because he's straight. They will warn daughters, nieces, and granddaughters to put some clothes on when a man walks into the room, as if the girl is responsible for controlling his impulses. They will send girls to on errands or make them sit outside when certain male relatives come over. These precautions are silent admissions that they know these men cannot be trusted, but instead of confronting them or holding them accountable, they place the burden of protection on the girls themselves. Meanwhile, straight black men act as if they cannot control themselves around those they find desirable, justifying their predatory behavior with excuses like men have needs or it's just nature. Yet these same men expect so much more from gay black men. They expect us to resist all sexual urges, to live a sex free life, or exploit women as they do, even though we don't find women sexually attractive. If straight black men truly believe that attraction automatically leads to action, then why do they demand complete celibacy from gay men while excusing their own inability to control themselves around young girls? The hypocrisy is staggering. They insist that masculinity means dominance and sexual access, but when it comes to queer black men, they suddenly demand restraint, denial, and invisibility. They move through the world with an entitlement to women's bodies, making sex with women the primary focus of their daily activity, whether they are at work, in the grocery store, pumping gas, or even in church. Straight black men are constantly on the lookout for opportunities to have sex with women. And what's worse, they rub it in our faces. We are forced to listen to their vulgar stories and explicit discussions about exploiting women, their conquest, and their so called game. At least most gays are discreet. Our sexual lives are relegated to gay apps, clubs, and spaces where consent and mutual attraction are at the forefront. We don't bring our sexual business into everyday social settings. Our sexuality only becomes a topic of discussion because people are constantly prying into our personal lives, asking invasive questions, and then getting upset when they receive an answer they didn't expect. They want us to lie, to downplay, and hide. The image is clear. Masculinity and image matter more than integrity, responsibility, or the protection of black children. This misplaced loyalty not only harms individuals, but weakens the collective strength of the black community by refusing to hold men accountable and instead attacking the credibility of young girls. The community allows cycles of harm to persist. True progress requires breaking the cycle, rejecting the false notion that masculinity must be protected at all costs, and instead fostering a culture where morality, accountability, and the well-being of all black people, especially the most vulnerable, take precedence. I think this chapter is almost done. Like I said, I'm not going to read this entire chapter. I want y'all to know there's a lot of good information in this book. I really completely dismantle homophobia. Um, Let me go back and see if I have any comments. Okay. It said that I lost my connection. I don't know if that actually happened because I see that there are people still here. So this is Pride Month, and I don't know. I mean, we're what is today? Today is the 19th. I would like to try to read a little bit more from this book during this month. But we really have to challenge homophobia because clearly it does exist. They're acting as if it's no longer a problem. We already moved past it. It is still perpetuated in the community. I would say that gays get treated more than a convicted felon. I mean, we get treated worse than a convicted felon. You can literally rob, grape, you can literally do anything. And for whatever reason, they would still tolerate it. You can be a womanizer. You can have children in multiple homes. You can be a scammer, exploit black women. You can literally do anything in the community as long as you're not gay. You can literally murder somebody and the community will still support you. And I know it sounds hyperbolic to say that, but I just showed y'all. The community rallied around Carmelo Anthony, but a gay man who was killed for voguing received no public outcry. Did anybody even talk about this? Did anybody even address the prison sentence that is reduced from murder to manslaughter. And they say that we put our sexuality before our race. I don't think that we're the ones doing it. I think they're the ones who are doing that. We have been taught over and over again that we cannot depend on the community, that we have no one to depend on except ourselves. So, yes, you may face racism. You may face racial bias from the courts, capitalism, the police. But the gay black man faces everything that you face, plus we also face oppression from our own damn communities, from our own parents, from our own family members. There really is no place that we can turn besides our own community, besides ourselves. We have been erased from history. We have been silenced. Anytime we try to bring up our issues, we're told that it's not important, that we're being divisive, that we should just get on cold and just focus on whatever they say is important. O'Shea Sibley did not put his sexuality before his race. He was just a black man trying to pump gas. And the reason why they're not going to defend O'Shea Sibley is because, unfortunately, a lot of them actually do think that we deserve it. And I know they believe this because when Uganda, what was that? Yeah, it was Uganda when they had that anti-gay bill, which actually imposes the death penalty for those who are caught being homosexual or caught in gay acts. A range of a lifetime imprisonment or the death penalty. We had all of these black content creators rallying support for oppression against gay black men. This is not hyperbolic. They are homophobic. They do hate you. They literally don't care if you get killed for being gay. And yet, there's supposed to be this one-sided unilateral attraction where you're supposed to rally behind every common criminal, every murderer, rapist, as long as they are straight. They can literally do everything and get away with murder. So yes, the black community defends homicides, but they don't defend homocides. So if you're straight, you can commit a homicide, but just don't be the victim who gets killed because they're not going to defend you. It's going to be radio silence. And for those who say that we don't need Pride Month, I say never again. Never again to the conversion therapy and shock treatments. Never again to the murder of Matthew Shepard. Never again to the AIDS crisis. Never again to Stonewall. Never again to sodomy laws. Never again to employment discrimination. Never again to housing discrimination. Never again to don't ask, don't tell. Never again to being abused by our parents. Never again to religious institutions condemning us from the pulpit. Never again to the murders of trans people. Never again to conversion camps. Never again to the gay men. I mean, admittedly, they weren't black, but the pink triangles who were put in concentration camps. Paragraph 175. A lot of people don't know that gays were put in the Holocaust. I don't know that you could call it a Holocaust, but they were put in the camps right along with the Jews. And they say that gay oppression does not exist. That it's a choice. It doesn't matter. If we choose to be gay, then you also choose to be straight. You also choose your religion. There's a lot of choices that you feel entitled to live your life and receive protection from society. This is why gay pride exists. We're not going to go back in the closets. We're not going to live a life of shame. We're not going to have our existence be criminalized. We're not going back to electroshock therapy. We're not going back to being stabbed and shot without receiving justice. And when the community turns its back on black gay men being murdered in cold blood just for voguing, it is signaling that they want to go back. They want to go back to a time when this was acceptable behavior. And this is why we need pride in the first place. Otherwise, we're going to be subjected to erasure. O'Shea Sibley's blood is our never again. He was not killed necessarily for being gay. He was not having sex in public. He was killed for voguing, for flaunting his femininity. They want us to constantly mule and advocate for them, put their issues first, but they don't reciprocate at all. It's unilateral extraction. When are they going to show up for us? When are they going to stop publicly advocating for our demise? Because I want y'all to know that anytime one of them gets targeted by the system, it's not necessarily straight black men who actually comes to their rescue. It's always the gays and black women. They're not politically activated. They're not politically motivated. So we keep advocating for them and we get nothing in return. This is a betrayal. We did not betray the community betrayed us. If Black lives matter, then all Black lives have to matter. All right, y'all. That's my rant for today. I don't know if there's any other comments. But also stop being the disgraceful, pathetic cowards that they are, and realize that they are that what or who you be into is not the end of the world and apocalypse, and that you are not to be this rigid. rigid archetype and super strict model thing, considering how that is so performative and unrealistic in creating a bunch of fake, disgraceful, and psychological damage and insecurity long term. Yeah, I appreciate it. Um, again, I'm going to try to read a little bit more of that before the end of this month. No, you're not the only one here. There's two other people here, but okay. Thank you for that. But anyway, y'all have a good day. I may do another one because I did want to do something for my other channel. Um, maybe tonight, or if not, then I'll try to do something tomorrow. But anyway, y'all have a good night, and I will be back soon.